I want to tell you the story about one of my failures. And it's a project called Eden Photos, desktop software, which allows you to easily organize the images on your computer using AI. We built this with a buddy of mine all the way back in 2016. So it was actually a long time ago. I want to share with you how we started, how it progressed over the years. I didn't manage to mess it up in the end quite badly, to be honest. This is another episode of the mini-series that I call Sunday Fuck-Ups. And the main thread that we're sowing here is the idea that success is not a finite entity. It's something that you build on top of, and the building blocks are your failures. And you getting through them and the lessons you learn is what we end up calling a success. Hey everyone, my name is Ivan, aka the App Man, and you're watching the App Man Show, where we talk about making money with apps. To kick things off, I have a quote from a person I really admire. It's Usain Bolt, once the fastest man alive. And he famously said, when asked, what is the hardest part about being yourself? And he said, well, what do you think? And the interviewer says, well, I think it's probably the races and having to compete at that level for so long. And he said, no, actually the race is the fun part. That's where we go and have fun during the race and the Olympics or whatever the race might be. The hard part is the years of 8 to 10 hours of training before the race. If you want to compete at the top of your game, you need to be able to endure the pain, the frustration, sometimes the despair of going through these failures in order to get to the success. Like I said, I started working on this project with a buddy of mine. It was actually his idea. And the first version that we built was actually all right. We didn't spend too much time on it. We actually only invested our own time into the project, so no actual money was invested into the project. Not that we had any to invest, but anyway. It was pretty simple, it was basic, but it was actually doing its job all right. Like nothing crazy, but it had a few, 10, 20 subscribers, which again, not a big success, but also not a huge failure. Actual failure, a few years later, as you've probably already seen in one of my other videos in the series of how I lost a lot of money and nearly went bankrupt, at a certain period of time, I thought that the way to get out of this money problem that I was into, the one thing that could get me out was to build a product or to build a product company or to build products. The easiest thing to do at the time was to take this product that we had already built, it had a few subscribers, make it better, and solve all our problems. That was the whole strategy. Now, the make it better part, why I put it in parentheses, is because whenever I actually bothered to ask anyone what they want in order to see the product as a better product, we just came up with a bunch of features and a bunch of things that we wanted to add to the software, and that's what we did. Didn't ask anyone, didn't do any research. At some point we did some research after we had already invested $150,000 into that product. We made some research, we asked potential customers, we gathered their feedback, and we didn't put one thing from what they told us into the software, okay? So probably not the best idea. A few things that I think were key to failing with this project. We made zero market research. First of all, what else is on the market? Second of all, we already had customers, but we didn't bother to ask them what do they want that's different. Maybe we didn't have to spend so much time building a full-blown separate new product. We could just iterate on the product that was already built that could have been potentially a better way out of it. One caveat here is that for our initial customers, we weren't collecting their emails. So it was a software where they had to just download it from the App Store, and they didn't have to register, they didn't have to create an account. We weren't collecting their emails at all, so we had no way of actually communicating with them, if you know what I mean. So even if we wanted to ask them for feedback, there was no way to do it. We started developing the product further, and then came potentially the biggest flaw in the whole plan. And this is the fact that I let the dev team lead the project. Surprise, when that ended up happening, is that the project ended up being over-engineered because dev team was leading the whole project. The reason why I let them do this is because we had went through this whole weird circus of a situation where we ran out of money, almost went bankrupt, almost sold the company, and we're kind of getting back on our feet. And I just wanted to do something to make them feel better and just give them something exciting to work on. which I guess had some benefit to it. I think they were happier for a while. They were more excited for a while, but we ended up spending so much money on that product that probably never gonna be ROI positive for the company ever. The other thing that ended up happening, again, maybe because of the fact that dev team was leading the whole product, was that the product ended up being very complicated. It's very difficult to use. It's not very user-friendly. It was the first time that we're actually designing a desktop application. We're a mobile app development company, mobile app development studio. We have no idea how to develop a desktop app. What is a desktop interface? Where do you put the buttons? Where is the menu? Like all of that. No idea. As you can imagine, from the first time, of course we failed. I mean, what else is there to expect? So the design is clunky. It's difficult to use. Some stuff is buried in the menus. People don't know how to start using the product. I mean, sure, we added some onboarding steps at some point later in the development, but it was just patchwork. It didn't really solve the problem. I also briefly touched upon another big problem, is the fact that it's just that it's so far out of our normal scope. I don't even know why we decided, or why I decided it's a good idea to do something like that. Normally, when you develop something, focus on the stack that you're already familiar with. And when I say stack, I don't mean just tech stack. It means everything that you use in order to make this product a success. Your marketing, your customer outreach, customer support, task management, project management, everything. You use what you're used to if you want to make it fast and cheap. The next problem is that we did minimal market research, meaning we had no idea what the competition is offering on the market. Sure, we knew about some of the bigger players on the market, but we were not really competing with them, so it wasn't even relevant as market research. And that's a problem because we had no idea who we are competing with, we had no idea who our product is for, we had no idea who to sell it to, and that led to the next big problem is if you don't do market research, you can't actually do marketing. This is the biggest trap that I've fallen into so many times, and I see so many other app founders, so many other startup founders do the same thing over and over again, and I hope my efforts with this channel, with this content, is gonna help a lot of the app founders and the startup founders get out of this situation, because we're builders. And we tend to focus on building things. We don't focus on marketing those things. What we end up having is we have this beautiful rocket ship that can fly to Mars and back, and we don't tell anyone about it. We don't make people excited about it, and we just end up wondering why no one wants to use it. No one wants to use it because no one knows about it. And it was the same thing with our software. We put a bunch of posts on social media, we sent a few emails to some subscribers, and that was it. Like probably, I don't know, less than 1,000 people saw that communication. Yeah, we got 50 subscribers, so what? I'm going to leave this here, not make this too long. And if you have any further questions regarding how to properly invest in a startup, how to properly make an app without spending crazy amounts of money like we did, just leave a comment, like this video, maybe subscribe to the channel if that's something you're into. And we'll keep talking about these things in the next videos. As always, guys, thank you for paying attention, and see you soon.